Did you have people that were with you in this process, or what were you thinking in that moment?
Most whistleblowers always feel like they could always use more help. It is quite a lonely process to decide to almost ostracize yourself from all of the people that you've known and worked with for a while, possibly blacklist yourself from the industry. I like to call it jumping off a cliff without knowing if you have a parachute. Facebook during 2010 to 2015 had a technical loophole. They sold this to over 40,000 companies that wanted developer access to Facebook, and it meant that you could build an app on Facebook. All of those quizzes would ask you for consent for you to share your data. And instead of that company getting access to just your data, it would also get access to the data of everybody else that you were connected to on Facebook. So all of a sudden, your hundreds or thousands of friends, this developer would get access to everybody's personal data, all of it.
What is the next stage of really making sure that we're future-proofing these data in digital spaces to allow us to have a more brighter and more desirable future?
The way that I see the future is that everyone will actually be able to own their data and be able to choose what data you keep private, but all of the data that you're very happy to share, you could share safely and anonymously and get paid for sharing that data. Even just owning a percentage of the value of our data would pay us enough every day to take care of our groceries.
Welcome to Beyond Luxury, where we explore emerging trends and take them one step further. Join us as we redefine the meaning of luxury in today's ever-evolving world. Building on the themes of my book, Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, we invite thought leaders from fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, hospitality, culture, and tech to share their insights and story. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, for being here on the Beyond Luxury podcast in the third season. I'm here from the podcast Apple Studio in London, Platoon 7, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you on here. You have been named... You are the fearless whistleblower for the Cambridge Analytica, and really revealed that our own data has been used to influence not only the 2016 elections, but many other things. And truly, you've stood up against major tech giants and political giants, Facebook, now Meta, to name a few. And really, this must have been a very challenging thing and brave kind of step forward to do this, and not only to do it in media, but also in several courtrooms. So I really want to hear it from you. What drove you to step out and really step out of those shadows and confront this? And how was your journey? How did it take you from where you started and where you're at now?
Well, firstly, thank you so much, Carlotta, for having me on this podcast today. It's an honor to be having this conversation with you and to have this conversation for your audience as well. I couldn't believe how important these conversations have become over the past 7 years since I came out as a whistleblower. Mm-hmm. For me, I never intended to be in that position. It really comes from my roots in being an activist. I spent most of my young years, my childhood, even throughout high school and university and the early parts of my career, specifically working as an activist either for environmental rights or human rights, and then was training as a human rights lawyer when I ended up at Cambridge Analytica. So for me, I feel like a lot of the ways that I have interacted with tech and politics have really been as an eternal optimist, hoping that all of the tools that I'm using in order to reach people are going to reach ethical means, where I'm going to inform them about policy or some sort of way to get involved in politics, how to stand up for what they believe in and what's important for themselves and their families. But of course, it really does depend whose hands the tools are in. Technology in general is not positive or negative. It really depends how you use it, who is the end user, what functionality it's employed for. And what I found out at Cambridge Analytica is not everyone just wants to promote positive policies. Some people have darker intentions than that. And coming out as a whistleblower was not an easy thing to do. Over my 4 years at Cambridge Analytica, I saw some incredible ways that data and technology were used in order to reach people that were inherently very positive. And I saw many neutral use cases. But then, of course, as you start to have clients that will do anything to stay in power, you realize that ethics and morals don't really play into their daily decision making. And therefore, these tools can become weapons very easily. And as I watched that happen in the hands of multiple clients, whether the Brexiteers or some of the Trump campaigns and super PACs that Cambridge Analytica was involved with, I really thought, if no one's going to come forward to talk about this, then it's only going to get worse. And I definitely have been put on this earth to help things become better. So I took I would say, mortal risk of coming out against some of the most powerful people in the world to hope that in the future, the ways that these technologies are used can be more moral and ethically guided than they have been in the past.
Truly inspiring, because it takes a lot I can't even imagine what it must have taken for you to step into that and to really step into that activist role, especially when you're going and confronting these big politics and politicians and political institutions and tech institutions as well. And truly, I love what you say. It's not about the tools, it's about how you use the tools. It's not about the tech, it's about how you use the tech. And that's very relevant today, even when we talk about AI and a bunch of other things, blockchain, that I'm sure we'll get into today. I want to know that specific moment that made you decide, I'm gonna, as you say, blow the whistle, right? I'm going to go forth and speak out to this. What was that turning point like?
So there were two turning points for me. One was about a month after Trump won the election in 2016. And I think most people in Cambridge Analytica were still quite surprised, even though we saw that Trump had a chance. Most of the world thought that Hillary Clinton had this in the bag. And so when Senator Clinton lost the election, a lot of people were scrambling to figure out what Cambridge Analytica and other partners had done on the campaign to put someone who was very much the unexpected underdog to somehow win in this upset type of election. For me, we waited a few weeks after the election to ask our colleagues that were actually working on these campaigns, okay, what did you guys do? I was director of business development, so it was my job to present what the company was capable of doing to now the thousands of people that were calling us from all over the world to figure out what we had done and to try to hire us. So I hadn't worked on the Trump campaign or the super PACs. So my colleagues that had put together a presentation. And about a month after the election, they gave us this 2-day long presentation. It was 8 hours each day of all of the data that they had licensed and collected, all of the modeling they had done, the targeting campaigns they ran, and how that was actually executed. Now, when they started to get to the part about which data points were being used, how it was being modeled, and how they were targeting fear-based messaging at neurotics, and found that that was the highest ROI for their investment, and how they reinvested in that and the types of campaigns that they ran, it started to become quite obvious that this was not just verging on misinformation or disinformation. It wasn't just verging on unethical, but was possibly also voter suppression, which is illegal in most places around the world. That these negative campaigns about Hillary Clinton were being targeted at people that if they did go to the polling booth, they would have voted for her. But they were convinced not to by some of these campaigns that were directed at them using their data that had been non-consensually collected. So for me, I started to think, okay, how am I going to get out of this situation? Where can I go? What can I do? I've been working here for years. I'm a human rights lawyer that used to work for the Democrats. I'm not sure they want me back at this time. So I started to think about what else I could do, started to work on what my future could look like leaving this tech company, and thinking about what ethical technologists I could work with and apply my new skills in business development and tech, but to move into a new industry. And as I slowly started to build my ability to move into digital assets and crypto full time, I was starting to plan to leave Cambridge Analytica, and slowly there started to be more and more press attention on what we had done during the election and how these technologies were used, especially the Facebook data that Cambridge Analytica was able to collect. And the more and more press started to come out, I realized the press has it all wrong. Everyone seemed quite obsessed with just this little bit of Facebook data that was possibly used by Cambridge Analytica. And for me, I knew how much bigger the problem was. It wasn't just a little bit of Facebook data. It was all of the data that is collected about all people all around the world at all times. Billions of people, billions of data points on each person sometimes, depending on how many devices they've owned, how much time they spend online. And that this amount of data was being collected without anyone's consent, without transparency or tracking or traceability, without any ability to revoke consent or delete this data. And the problem was much bigger than the press were really reporting on. So I started to plan how could I actually discuss this with the press, discuss this with authorities, because I had over 100,000 documents to share with them and many years of personal experience where I thought I could actually inform people about what was really going on, and then have a hope of a future that would look quite different.
Absolutely. Wow. And you also had a very big TED talk after that really, I think, shone a lot of light on what was going on, and had a great repercussion in that sense as well. Um, what do you think you would have expected, or did you have enough support when you were doing all of this? Is there some sort of parts that the press didn't really pick up that you had to go through? Did you have people that were with you in this process, or was it a more of a lonely process? How did you feel doing this, and what were you thinking in that moment?
I think most whistleblowers always feel like they could always use more help. It is quite a lonely process to decide to almost ostracize yourself from all of the people that you've known and worked with for a while, possibly blacklist yourself from the industry, possibly put yourself at risk of not just legal repercussions, but physical repercussions. Uh, I like to call it jumping off a cliff without knowing if you have a parachute, let alone if it's going to work, because that's
Mm-hmm.
really what it feels like. I was lucky enough to have some people by my side who were guiding me and advising me, helping put me in touch with top journalists who wanted to hear my story, putting me in touch with authorities who I could help guide on what had just happened with technical expertise. And I ended up testifying to, about 50 different lawsuits and government investigations around the world, many of them against Facebook, the Trump campaign, and quite a few other organizations that were involved in Brexit or data collection around these issues. So it's still going on 7 years later,
Mm-hmm.
which, is now a duty. I think when you take it upon yourself to be an expert in data protection, data ownership, ethical use of data, I'm still an expert witness and I testify in a lot of these cases. Only just a few months ago, there was a case that I testified in starting 5 years ago against Instagram for targeting children with suicide websites, and, anorexia and bulimia websites. So I think it's almost a never-ending problem, especially as we go into the age of AI. But it's something I have a lot
Absolutely.
more support with now than I did when I was originally going through the process, which was a lot scarier. And now that I suppose, celebrated and supported for doing what I did, it's a lot easier to continue to help and make a positive impact.
Mm. What was the most surprising thing you came across in this fight?
The most surprising thing is that almost nobody knew what I was talking about. uh, in general, digital literacy is very low around the world, even people that are supposed to understand the way these things work. I found that even while working at Cambridge Analytica, that whoever's in charge of technology or data for some of the world's largest multinational corporations, for governments, a lot of these people are not more than a glorified kind of IT guy. And the CTO doesn't know anything about data science or how the data is really being used or how to actually stop certain data sets from being used or delete it from the hundreds or thousands of databases that it's in for their company or for their government organization. So it was really hard to identify a problem that a lot of people didn't understand. It was more of a education and awareness campaign than almost anything else, letting people know what your data is, how it's collected, how it's held, how it's matched with other data sets in order to put you into clusters or groups or categories, and then how those data profiles are used to target you with content at the right time in the right places to convince you to take an action off of the back of that. Really understanding what that process looks like, I think, was so incredibly difficult, and it only got a lot easier after the documentary that I'm the main subject of, The Great Hack on Netflix, came out in July
Yep.
2019, where the makers of the film had spent the majority of the film budget actually on animations, so that you could actually show data being collected from people and what the data modeling and matching and targeting process looks like. I found that to be the biggest tool in the campaigning process for me, was that I actually had a way of showing people what this process looks like when normally it's invisible and therefore very difficult to comprehend.
Stop everything you're doing. If you love our podcast and are passionate about the future of luxury, don't forget to hit follow. The more followers we have, the bigger guests we can bring on. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you. Wow. It's such important work you're doing, Brittany, and it's incredible where you're going now with it. So now, on a little bit of a brighter note, you're wearing a beautiful necklace on your data. I would love for you to explain to us how you made this necklace and what it means to you. And I'm sure that it's made out of very interesting parts.
Well, thank you so much for asking. This was actually a piece that I had made for the red carpet premiere of The Great Hack at Sundance Film Festival, which was in January 2019. I worked with my dear friend Shannon Xiang, who's an incredible jewelry designer and metal worker based out of LA. She took some of my old computers, possibly Cambridge Analytica computers, in order to solder out the motherboards and connect these motherboards into a necklace, and then superimpose the letters on top of it. We tried to do so many different designs where there were hands holding data sets, there were ones and zeros and palms. We really went through a lot of conceptual ways to talk about data ownership or data privacy or being able to possess your own data. But we realized in the end, because in order to have some longevity to the piece and not just have it be one red carpet statement, that the easiest way to get the message across would just be to write out, own your data. Again, going back to the fact that these concepts are still so abstract for most people, that unless you say it straight out, it's very, very difficult to keep it symbolic when the whole point is to have a conversation piece. And for people all over the world, when they see me, because I wear this at conferences that I speak at on an almost daily basis, I wear it to events, galas, dinners, wherever I am, so that people ask me about it, and then I can have a conversation about what data ownership and data protection means to me and what it should hopefully mean to other people.
I love it. And you created Own Your Data Foundation, which was a huge step to kind of open up that education and that advocacy over your data rights and digital rights in general. Where is that, and how have you been pushing that into your everyday things that you do today?
Yeah, in 2019, my sister and I co-founded the Own Your Data Foundation. It's a 501c3 based in Wyoming, where I was doing a lot of legislative and regulatory work, and I still am. I'm a member of multiple congressional subcommittees there on blockchain, fintech, and digital innovation. And we started this nonprofit specifically because we realized the main barrier to entry was education. And the biggest barrier to changing people's habits around the use of technology for their own data protection, for their own mental and physical health, were bad habits because we were never taught properly how technology works in order to make a more educated decision on how we would use it. Of course, if we in school were taught that every time we search something on a search engine, that all of that data would be connected to us forever, and everything we ever typed would be connected to our email accounts, to our whole online presence, and we could never delete it or change it. Of course, we might have used technology a little bit differently throughout our lives, but instead we were just taught, here's how you type, here's how you send an email, just how to use it, but not how it functions. And so it took away our ability for critical thinking. And bringing critical thinking back to the way that children interact with technology, I think, is absolutely essential. So our Own Your Data Foundation is grounded in bringing digital literacy to children and democratizing access to that for not just children, but their families, their parents, and of course also, government officials, for the high-level executives at corporations that are making decisions like this. But I really believe that it starts with the next generation, and that this is a generational change conversation. So making sure that education about your data rights and basic cybersecurity protocols, screen time management for your mental health, and managing your data footprint online, making sure that you can spot a hacking or a phishing attempt. All of these things should be basic education, but it's only just beginning. Most countries around the world do not have digital literacy as a part of their school curriculum just yet. But I spoke at the G20 a couple years ago about starting to implement this, and we now have the first few countries that are implementing this at a national level into their education system. So although it's the beginning, it is a good start, and I hope that by the time my child is in middle school and is having these computer classes at his elementary school, that first he's taught more about digital literacy in tandem with how to use the technology on a functional level.
What would you say, being the mother of a next generation child, what would you say are top things that you really want to make sure that your child understands and knows when using technology?
Um, First and foremost, that most of what you see on social media isn't real. As Frances Haugen, who's a friend of mine, the Facebook whistleblower, confirmed, a lot of this was supposition on my side because I only had evidence and data on the Cambridge Analytica relationship with Facebook. Right. But she was a data scientist within Facebook and had a lot of data to show that more than half of these accounts are fake, run by bots. I know Elon Musk has done a lot of work to try to weed some of those out at X, but still the amount of fake accounts that are on social media mean that there's not even human beings behind a lot of the posts and the sharing and the targeted content that you're being shown, and that in general, social media is not good for your mental health, therefore also your physical health in the end. So I will hope that I'm able to enforce that my child doesn't go on social media until college, university age. I was lucky enough that Facebook was only for college and university students when I was younger. So the first time I joined it was my freshman year of college. And I would hope that for all children. I don't think these are tools that should be used by kids. It's been about, over a 400% increase in child suicide and eating disorders in young girls. And since the advent of social media, it's just not something that is good for youth in any way, shape, or form. Text and phone calls should be enough. Play dates with your next door neighbors or kids from school that your parents arrange. Honestly, that should be enough. Access to educational games, websites, but social media, no. So that's my first number one thing, is that ideally my children will not have access to that anytime soon. And you can see that most of the bosses of social media companies don't allow their kids to use it either.
Stay tuned to hear some fashion tips from my brilliant stylist, Paulina Arenas. Paulina, it's so nice to have you here. We've been working together for the past 3 months in our styling, and you've really taken a new turn with me and a really interesting path on how to have the right things that I need to feel the most confident in what I'm wearing, in how I'm expressing my identity, and how I show up to places. And I really would love for you to share a little bit about what our methodology has been, especially starting from square one, where you came to my house and we did this whole clean out of how to curate and have a better closet that would serve me.
So happy to be here with you. It's been a ride. It's been amazing to do this with you, to see how we've been transforming your outfits. And it's a dream to be sitting here and doing this together. So thank you. Going back to square one, what we did was first to curate your closet and have every piece that you need, something that when you wear it, you feel great in it. We had to cleanse. So cleansing, we had 3 bags, 1 for donation, 1 to get fixed, and 1 to sell. The get fixed bag, I think, was very interesting because I feel like that happens to me where I have a skirt that I haven't worn in forever, and oh my God, you just take it to fix and you have a new piece of wardrobe. And I feel like that was a big one with you. Like, it was great to see how your blue jeans that now they're fitted perfect, you just wore them the other day, they look amazing. As well as your dress. Like, I feel
That
like,
dress.
Oh my God.
That I just wore to the gala. That was a crazy one. I wore that dress for my my high school prom. And I had put some things on the front of it.
No.
And that was an addition because I had worn it to my prom. All my friends have worn it. It's gone through all of my high school friends. And then it's that dress that kind of just fits everyone. And then for this gala, we were trying to look for a dress and you were like, just fix that one again to make it fit you. And it was
amazing.
A freaking...
Yeah, perfect.
It was great.
It was painted
amazing.
on you.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, and then the donating part is important too, because there's stuff that, of course, they're not good enough to sell on Vinted, but you still had to give away. And I feel like doing that together with someone that really asks you, have you worn that? Not really. Yes, throw that away. Doesn't look good. That's the first step of anything, I feel like. And after that, our second step, which is what we've been doing lately, is more like the investing part of your closet. And I think that's also very important. After that curation with our wish list that we did together, I think we've been going and investing and changing a bit that mindset of not thinking I'm spending money, but more I'm investing in my beautiful skirt that I'm going to wear.
And very intentionally, right? Because you'll also focus so much on not only why you're investing in that skirt, but how you can mix and match that skirt. And you all of a sudden bring out 15 outfits that I can be wearing with that same item, where normally when I buy an item, I don't think about the 15 outfits I can be wearing with it, right? I'm just I really like it and I'm going to take it. And now it's really rewiring my brain on when I think about buying something, whether it's a more high value investment or a lower value investment, is it of good quality? I have Paulina's voice on the back of my head.
Yeah.
And also how many outfits can I do with it and how could I mix and match it? And I think that's really the essence of having your coined capsule collection closet, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's, I always tell you to do that. And I do that exercise with you of telling you when you're going to buy something that I know is high value or something that you would normally not invest in. I always tell you like, yeah, like, this is how you can wear it. This is how you can mix it up. Because I feel like that is what gives, at least it gives me when I'm buying something like, okay, it's expensive, but I know I can wear it 30 different ways and I'm going to use it for 10 years. It's worth it. And
Right.
I feel like that gives you a more like intention in how you invest in things and how you choose what you're going to invest your money in. That comes all from like how it was created, like the it comes from how the garment is made and what the brand values are, which all helps in when you're making this decision of like, what am I going to buy and what is the intention behind it. And I think that's something that, as you said, is a rewiring that we have to do in our brains to be able to do this, because if it doesn't come natural, like, you have to learn how to.
Yeah.
And my goal with you is that when you walk into your closet, you're like, wait, I know first, it's all good quality. I'm proud of everything that I have here because of the way it was made. It's sustainable. It's like all of these things. And then second, that you know how to mix and match and know like these jeans with these shoes with this, it all goes together. And if I have a gala, I can do this like that. Like, it gives you like a certain power.
Absolutely.
That I feel like everyone as humans, like, it's all like a power of expression.
It's an extension of your identity and the way you, absolutely. I think it's another tool, right? And it's also makes you feel more confident, especially that in all these talks that you've been styling me at and these galas and all. It's a boost of, you don't have to, there used to be always this like worry on what am I going to wear and I need to go buy something. My mechanism was always, I need to go buy something or I need to go rent something. And now it's like, okay, let's rent something if we need it. Like in that gala that I wore my prom dress from high school.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have never thought that. My brain would have been like either rent or buy something, right? And sometimes you don't need to go in that direction. You maybe already have something in your closet, but if you know your closet and you're very intentional about what you have in it, it's so much easier to do that.
So much easier to do it. And also I feel like when you were wearing that dress, you remember all these things that you've worn it before. Like it comes with a story. It comes with a purpose that gives you that power, like to go to that gala and look and feel great. Which at the end of the day, like when you look and feel great is when you exude that energy and you attract. And
Absolutely.
I feel like that's why for me the fashion world and styling for me is really about expression and how people can express themselves in their most aligned self. And by doing that, you need to be feeling comfortable. Like, I feel like it comes with a superficial approach. Everybody thinks like it's what you're wearing and so what's the brand, but really it's not. Like, it's how you're feeling with what you're wearing and why you're wearing it. And that's what makes you really look at somebody in the street wearing like a random red skirt and you're like, oh my God, because she's wearing it with that intention, with that feeling behind it, not just because it's a brand or because it,
Absolutely. How can people follow you and hear more tips from you and contact you if they're interested?
They can follow me on Instagram, Pulgarenas, and there they can always feel free to DM me. I'm always posting a bit of inspo of how I'm dressing, but if they really want to work with me, it's through DM.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That wraps up part 1 of this episode. The conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to dive into part 2 for more insights, stories, and perspectives you won't want to miss. For weekly updates on future trends and the latest insights and data on the luxury industry, be sure to follow us on the Beyond Luxury's weekly Substack. Discover our bespoke trend reports and come to us for luxury futures consulting at Beyond Luxury Group.